Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, where you will find interesting guests and discussions about cutting-edge topics to assist you on your journey. The Quantum Guide Show is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who feel isolated by their newfound beliefs. The mind, body, and spirit thrive when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change that we wish to see in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, and share this show with your friends. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. In episode 101, I am pleased to introduce you to Brent Boatman. Brent has been meditating since he was 7 years old and quickly found that he was connected to higher consciousness. Now, Brent is a level 2 quantum hypnosis healing technique practitioner and a BQH certified practitioner on expanding human consciousness and past life regression. Brent teaches telecommunication with ETs and UFOs, sky watching for UFOs, the light language, also known as the language of the cosmos, how to attract fairies, angels, orbs, and interdimensional beings, how to meet your starseed family, how to open portals to other worlds, and how to do astral travel projection. He offers all sessions, including skywatching sessions, on his website. And the link will be embedded right into this video, but also in the description below. Brent has also written a book called UFO to IFO, Connect to Your Galactic Family and Beyond. Highlights of this book include how Brent went from living an ordinary life to living an extraordinary one by awakening his spiritual power and higher self that gave him access to communication with UFOs and galactic beings as he discovered that we are one. Welcome, Brent, to the Quantum Guide Show. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me very much. And hearing all that, it's like, wow. I never looked at it in that context. I just kind of, look at yourself as yourself. But when somebody spells it out, it's like, I guess I do that.
It's
But thank you for having
amazing.
me.
It's amazing work. Why don't you start off by telling myself and the viewers a little bit of background? How did you come to the point where you were experiencing, ET communication, interdimensionals, and all the other wonderful things that you do? How did it all get started for you?
Well, it was my mother. My mother was a church seeker. She was always looking for something that felt right. She never stopped. We got drug in and out of the station wagon from church to church. And eventually she was up in the mountains at our cabin. We had a cabin up there, and there was a book sitting on the coffee table written by a master by the name of Omram Mikhail Ivanov. And she picked it up and started reading it. And she's like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And the woman casually mentions, he's still alive. He's in the south of France. And my mother borrowed the book, read it, and her path took off. And at that time, I was actually a little runaway wild kid. And I was living in Germany. My travels took me all over Europe, Scandinavia, and I was in Germany. And she wrote me and said that back when we had snail mail, she's going to go to France to meet this master. I thought, what? Master? Weird. Okay. You're into another adventure. And so she said, after that, I want to come and visit you in Germany. Okay. So she went to the south of France. She visited, and then she took the train up. And I went to meet her at the train station. And I looked at her, I go, oh my gosh, Mom, you need a tan. You're so white. And everybody was all around her, thanking her. And, she met so many wonderful people, she said. Later on, I realized that she wasn't white. She had a light, and it was animating way beyond her. When I became awakened myself, I replayed it. So we went to my place, and she stayed for about 4 weeks. And when she left 2 books, one in German and one in English. And at that point, I was not enlightened. I did everything I could to kind of lose myself and not face the calling that I feel my soul was trying to push me in that direction. I was resistant. And I was sitting there in a daze one day going, what's missing? My mom's gone, but it's not her. There's something changed. Something is different. I'm lacking something, registered. And when I came through with my gaze, I was focused right on one of the books. And I got up, across the room, I picked it up, and I opened it up. It was entitled The New Earth. And I opened it, and by the time I got done reading the first paragraph, I knew it was in that book what I was looking for. So I started to read it. I started to practice the principles of prayer, of fasting, of meditating, and self-teach myself with the guidance of that book. I felt a big change in my life. Quit smoking, quit drinking, quit playing around. I did all those things. At the time I was working at Mercedes, I kind of fell out of love with the German auto thing and the metal. And I thought, I'm in Germany and he's in France. Maybe I'll go down there and check it out. Lo and behold, I was trying to register with the German government to become a citizen, which I could have, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I decided to go to France. So I went down to France, and I was accepted into the school, which was unusual because you just cannot go up to the gate. You have to send a photo. He's got to run it or scan over you and see if you're acceptable. And he accepted me at any rate. And I got there and I couldn't see him for about 2 weeks because he wants you to demagnetize yourself of the world. Being on those sacred grounds, this school was beautiful. Big grand saal and beautiful colors, long tables, green with plastic covers on them, wonderful music, very well orchestrated singing chorale for men and for women with high ceilings so your voices can merge up there. And he said it's to attract the angelic beings. And there was like a carpentry shop, a welding shop. There was a bakery. It was just well put together. There was hotels, etc. I was blessed to be there, and I figured it out, how it worked. And at first, when we'd wake up, the day would consist of going up to the mountain, climbing up a mountain, not real steep. I mean, you walk up a hill. And we'd sit down and we'd meditate to the morning sunrise. And he would teach us how to do breathing exercises to extract the elixir of the sun, the prana from the sun. And we'd do that, and then we'd come through and he would teach us all to salute with our hands to project energy, the right hand to project energy to each other. We're all call each other brothers and sisters. And then we'd go down the hill and we'd go about our jobs. Everybody had a job. If you're working in the fields, picking strawberries or cherries or grapes or whatever, that was your job, or working in plush, cutting vegetables, And then about 11:30, the lunch bell would ring and we'd go to this big open area and we'd do these very difficult balancing exercises to link the physical aspect and balance it with the spiritual mind of doing certain gestures. Then we'd all quietly walk into the grand saal and sit down. And the master had a table up front, very simple table. And he'd come out from behind, and say hello, and he'd go like this. and he would salute everybody. And you can feel everything in your mind, everything that you had, everything that you picked up, wiped out, cleaned. And then elevated spiritual feeling of light come in. Then he'd sit at the table and he'd have a man on one side and a woman on another. And he would have his book, Daily Meditations, and he'd read it and they'd start to talk about the topic. That was just the start. And then he'd go off on it and speak more and more and more. Well, I found that every day he spoke, he would say something that would bother my personality. It would offend me. And it would offend everybody else too, to the level they needed to hear it to evolve. It could be lust, it could be greed, it could be jealousy, any one of the human whatever the human lower nature, we'll call it, upper and lower nature. And I figured that out and I go, you know what? I got to work on that. So I'd go out, go to work, and I'd be confronted by the very thing he was talking about that day. Bam, right in my face. I always use the example of like sugar cookies, I walk out of the Grand Sol and some little pretty sister would come by with a big old bag of sugar cookies. No. And then instantly the compulsion would be lifted. It's gone. But you have to understand the volume of the desire that it was turned up was not normal. But if you can say no and overcome it, you were liberated from that character defect, we'll say. And this went on all summer. It was the personality, it was, sugar, it was greed, it was jealousy, every virtue you can think of. And I kept lean into it. I was fasting, I was losing weight, I was first one at the sunrise, 3.5, 4 hours a day I could meditate. And honestly, it passed like 15 minutes. I was the first one on the mountain, and then I'd leave. I wasn't the last one, but I'd just leave when it was over with. And so at the end of the summer, he said, I'm looking for one man and one woman to take to Paris to the advanced school of esoteric teaching and metaphysical knowledge. And I'm like, I've been gone over 3 years now from America. I was 21. I have to go home and figure out what I'm going to do. And so all the gentlemen, the brothers, were getting all ready to try to be the chosen one, as they call it, and march to the front of the line and help the older ladies cross the road, and hey, look at me, it was comical. And so anyways, I just didn't care because I'm going home. And so my mother came up to me one day. She said, well, the master made his choice on who's going to Paris. I'm thinking, oh, you too, Mom? And I go, oh, that's nice. She goes, well, don't you want to know who? And I go, I don't really care. She said, I go, who? She says, you. And all of a sudden in my consciousness, everything just like went forward, like, why me? But then I look back at how much I leaned into everything and how much I endured and how much I fostered and I grew and all that stuff. And I go, how would he know that? Because he did. He knew everything about me, past, present, future. He knew everything. And I did tell my mom, I said, Mom, he's not human. He's in a body, but the things he can do, I have seen some things that it's not human. And I would sit up on the mountain a lot of times and I'd say, if Jesus was here today, this is exactly what it would look like. Colored clothes, no makeup, people just really into the praying and the fasting and the spiritual music and the love. And I mean, the one day I remember so intensely and vividly when I was up there meditating is I started to see an image of the Michelangelo of the two fingers coming to touch where right? And I saw that image, and when they touched, a feeling came over me that was like, look, I'm getting goosebumps. Unbelievable feeling of electricity, we'll call it. And I was just steams of water just poured out my eyes. I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was off to the side. And that day, when he gave his lecture, he said, what you felt today. Now he's talking to everybody, but you're only going to hear what you're supposed to hear. It's all, He said, what you felt today was not electricity. He said it was the music of the spheres. So I heard the celestial music, and it was so beautiful that my soul remembered it and recalled it, and the tears was me in my body, not there. Okay. Sidetrack. So now I go to Paris, and I saw this old man named Francois. He had long eyebrows, and they're so long they go up over his hat. He looked like the man that is a famous painting of a man praying over a piece of bread, a gray beard. He looked just like that. And I said to myself, I need to get to know him. He has the secrets. And then I met two sisters, Francois and Laura. And they were my translators. And they would come to my room at night. I had a beautiful room, 14-foot tall ceilings, a little marble fireplace, and the window was like Paris is down below, 20 miles away. Okay, but it funneled right up the valley. And so they would come in my room at night with Francois, and Francois would tell me things about the universe, and because he was instructed by the master on what to do. Now, all of this is done through telecommunication and dream state. I never really ever talked to the master. He would tell me in dreams or through telecommunication. I would walk around like that crazy man, talking to himself, but I would just really be thinking and hearing messages, and I would be getting downloads and downloads of mathematics and formulas and everything. And it was pretty intense. And so they would come in my room, and things would unfold, and then that night it would happen, and I kept evolving and evolving beyond where I was in the south of France as a student. And one day he gave a lecture that he said, yeah, I got brothers and sisters called me and told me there was a UFO outside my window. And he says, well, I was so busy working that I couldn't go to my window and look. And he said, and he kind of did with a cheesy smile, like we knew he was fibbing. And he says, and he gave the formula how to call him if you want to see him. And at that time, everything I've experienced with him, because he'd always say, don't believe me, you have to do it and verify it for yourself. And so everything came true. So he gave the formula. Then that afternoon after the lecture, I said, I'm going to go try. So I grabbed a friend and I said, come on, we're going to go up and we're going to try to call UFOs. And she goes, you're crazy. But she goes, okay. So we hiked up the mountain again, and we're up there, and I'm doing what he said. And, I look around, I don't see anything. So we were interrupted by 4 other brothers and sisters. They came up and basket of fruit and bread, and they were singing and dancing, and that really cut the currents. And I go, oh, well, I'm just going to roll with it. So we descended down the mountain, and there's this huge circle on the property that I never knew what that circle was for. It was like a turnstile. If a car's coming in here and a car's going there, they can pass each other and then get out of each other's way and keep going. And he called it the 24 elders. That's what he called that circle. I took one step into that circle after we descended down the mountain, and I hear, look up. And I look up, there were 5 UFOs over the mountain where I was. And I showed the girl, I go, hey, look. And she goes, you're crazy. I kind of freaked her a little bit because she saw them. And then my mother and my brother were coming, and I said, hey, look there. And they go, oh my gosh, yes. And I didn't say anything what we were doing, or, I went up there to instigate it. So that was like the first real contact. But, I didn't understand what a metal ship had to do with spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the connection. And also the color rainbow circles above us every day in school almost. I counted up to 7 colored oval circles above us when we're out doing our exercises or we're all out talking. They were above us. Now I know what they were. Okay. And so that was my first real exposure. But while I was in Paris, we were having dinner and we ran out of olive oil. And I said, I'll go get it. And they go, you know where it is? I go, yeah, it's in the basement of the cellars of the master's house, the Grand Salle, the big building. It's 3 stories tall, and he had the place at the top. And they go, yeah. So I walked out the door, and there was a big balcony that connected the older house with the older house with the Grand Salle. And I walked down to the mezzanine. Straight out in front of me was a UFO. Maybe not even 100 yards out. And it was just parked, sitting there. And I have a pen that I made. And it was just like, just sitting there. And I know the master's up there, and I go, okay, I'm going to turn on my telepathic abilities and lean in and hear what's happening here. And so I do that, and I hear, you are meant to see this. This is for you. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at it. And then I hear, now go do what you came to do before someone comes out and sees us. And I go, okay. So I went and grabbed the olive oil. I came back out. It was still there. I looked at it for a little bit, and then I kind of felt a spanking coming on. Get going. So I did, and I went inside the house. I put the olive oil on the table, and never told anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because UFOs will let you see them if you're meant to.
Exactly. So, Brent, I don't want to cut you short, but we've got about a half an hour left, and I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about your ET experiences, any messages or information you want to pass to the viewers, and then please do tell us about your book.
Okay. Well, this is all sort of a part of the book. So I learned later on, a woman passed me at the school, and she touched me right here, and she said, I have a seed to plant. And she left. She went like that on me, and she just disappeared. I never saw her again. I don't know where she came from.
Yeah.
She was a beautiful woman, a little bit older than me, just pure as ever. And then she disappeared. And now I look back, I go, she was a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
She came just to plant a seed inside of me. And so this later on, I kind of dismissed the UFO thing until I got into quantum healing.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Dolores' school. I was going for level 2 in Florida. And I was sat in the back row. And the girl 2 seats over said, hey, I saw a UFO last night. And I'm like, I'm not surprised, because I've noticed they start to follow me wherever I go.
Mm-hmm.
I will hear somebody say, hey, I saw a UFO last night. And I'm like, because I would go out once in a while and say, hey, hi. And then you'd see a bright flash in the sky. So with this going on, and this woman up in the front, she came up to me. I didn't even know her. She started talking to me that she felt like she was abducted the night before. And she had a dream that it was out of this world, this, that, and the other. And I started to talk to her about it. And it's like we were brought together. Well, later on, she invited me to come to Las Vegas. Now this come full circle in a minute, and I go, okay. Well, I ended up going to Las Vegas. She came walking right up to me, and she said, "What's up with all these UFOs I see following you? You're a mega airport. They're all around you." And I'm going, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." She goes, "No, you know." So I said, "Well, it has a little bit to do with my past and being with a master and learning these very wonderful, powerful spiritual things that will help humanity." And that's really what I do. It's the best of my effort is trying to get people to unlock themselves. So there was a gal there that didn't believe, and I took her out the next night, and I said, she said, "How do you do this?" I go, "Well, friends, this is Shay. Say hello." And pop, right above us, a big light went off, and she did an interview on me. It went out, it went viral. And then they started to call me like a contactee or something. I go, no, got the wrong guy. But I let it go. The whole time I'm starting to see how the spiritual aspect and the ETs, how they work. The master didn't teach me about that. Because they knew in due time I'll figure it out. And so through me learning how to meditate and tap into my higher self, they would send me downloads, and I would be able to know what's a download and what's not, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And that started to open up. Now you got quantum hypnosis, where a lot of information will come through the person who's deep under hypnosis. They will come through and speak to me. Dolores has come through on several occasions and spoken to me. Oh, there it is. There's the pin. That's the one I saw in south of France. I mean, in Paris. I actually had it made, and I pass them out to people. That's it right there.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
You see the colors on the bottom?
Yeah.
Well, they would actually rotate in colors. It'd be orange, it'd be purple.
Oh my goodness.
It was a beautiful ship. So I drew it, and then I took it and had it made. Okay, excuse me. ADD moment. So that ignited me, and the people in Las Vegas wrote a big article on me that I'm going to do a show and this, that, and the other. And I'm reading it, and I'm getting a little bit angry because I don't even know these people, and they're pick the date and time and everything, and I'm going, what the? And all of a sudden I hear them say, "Brent, stop. We arranged this. We want you. It's time now." Because I never knew what to do with it, to come out and speak endlessly and boldly about what we are and how we work, and we're here to help humanity. And I said, I got it.
That's so interesting, Brent, because I was told in 2017 it was time for me to come out and call out all the other people that have had experiences, not worry about, whether they think they're crazy or not. I don't believe they are crazy. But and the more of us that come out, the more it gives courage for other people to come out. And I think there's a lot of us, Brent, a lot of us. Anyway, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents worth. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that, because that goes back to the book. That was my main drive to write my book. It's 38 short reads about me being with a master, how it unfolded, and all the experience that I had, regardless of how bizarre it is, being aboard the ships, being with the women, being, the sperm donation, all those things happened to me over and over and over again. And I said, I need to get this out there, because there are millions of people who've had this experience, who are locked up inside, afraid to speak about it and don't know what to do with it. So if I can create this book where they can read it, it's like, aha, I'm not alone. And then the whole purpose of the UFO pin was just wear it, and it'll be surprised how many people will come out and start talking to you about them. I'm a believer. I saw something. Great, tell me about it. And you see, the UFO ship is eye candy. That's the start of a spiritual journey for many. When I take people out on sightings, I have found that when the ships fly overhead and we ask for a power up, it means like beam up with light, and they will actually infuse the high vibrational light into us, and we become so high from that pure light that they give us of love and joy and bliss beyond what you can imagine. And that ignites a lot of people into their journey.
Mm-hmm.
I took a group to Eastern Washington, and we did the same thing, but we got more than that. We actually had an encounter.
Check out my website and find many valuable resources. There's the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation. This is a free, comprehensive online course. Learn about detoxification and nutrition, grounding and spiritual practices, and an advanced version of the law of attraction, giving you more of what you really want out of life. I also have my Zendomes Orgonite, which is my unique brand of orgone generators. They're ethically sourced and handmade by a friend of mine, and they're double charged for maximum effect. I also carry Comfort Crystals, which is a limited collection of energetically infused semi-precious stones. I have an array of vital services, so you can get the one-on-one support that you've been looking for. Also coaching, guidance, and I do assessments and also workshops. And then again, there are the many free resources available on my website. Wisdom to assist with energetic ascension into physical, mental, and spiritual paradise. Let us share our quantum work with you. It's your turn to heal, evolve, and thrive. Believe in your ability to succeed. Now, let's get back to the show.
I have it on a video. I filmed it. I said, look, those aren't humans. And they were standing across the field from us because we are such a love bunch. We do this all the time. Mm-hmm. We'll pick a place. We'll all fly there and we'll hang out. And then we just go out at night and the ships are all around us. Mm-hmm. My daughter, oh my gosh. Oh my, as she says, oh my Lanta. She is such a magnet. We all are magnets. We just have to tap into it. So mm-hmm. in my book, as you read towards the end, I said, look, I offer this real inexpensive video course on how to tap in. It's like I tried to condense 2 years of being with a master plus all my incarnations to get to that level to help you get there too. Because when you get there and see it, you're going to realize how powerful you are.
It's really hard to fit back into mainstream society after, Brent, because your mind's been blown. You want to tell people, you want to share what you know. People don't necessarily take it well, but I'm so happy that you wrote the book, that you're coming on my show and probably a lot of other shows telling people, because in my experience, there's nothing to be afraid of. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, please. I love that. I want to hear you talk. I love it. I get tired of hearing it. What did I say? I'm tired about talking about myself. Why don't you talk about me? It's a joke we have, about people who talk a lot. But yeah, I had to come out and do it. Mm-hmm. I had to, because I heard certain things that, there was a lot instilled in me. And I said, no, it's not my responsibility. Then I had a motorcycle crash. Coming home, I just bought this motorcycle, paid for it Saturday morning. By 9 o'clock that night, I was riding home, minding my own business, and a drunk driver came up from behind me at 90 miles an hour and hit me. And I flew down the freeway, and I had a come to Jesus meeting. Inside, I was encapsulated in a ball. And it's like, okay, I said, I'll do it. I'll do it. I will do what I came to Earth to do. I will do it. I won't play around anymore. They're like, are you sure? And I go, yeah, I'm sure. I'll do it now. I understand this is my wake up call. In fact, when I gave somebody a session, I asked about that and they go, yep, you made arrangements that if you got off your path, that they're going to come and do this. They're going to smack you and smack you good. And I stood up on the freeway and everybody went like their jaws hit the floor. That guy was doing 90 when he hit him. And I flew 75 feet and I rolled 75 feet. And I went to the hospital and I went home that night. And I knew it was a miracle. And I said, no, I'm changing my career. I'm going to get right back on it hard and I'm going to do what I got to do. That's why I started writing my book. I mean, I just buried myself into it and I still do it. And now we can talk about this later, but I discovered something that can help take anybody and increase their financial earnings with a very easy effort. And somebody said something to me that just made me cry. They said, this whole system was developed to liberate everybody from the slavery that our society has created that we have to live in. And I just went off like bells and whistles, because I would always tell everybody with my spiritual knowledge, we're not supposed to live like this.
No,
This
we're
is
not.
how we're supposed to live. The master said, in the beginning, it was knock on the door and it will be open unto you. He said, in the future, it's like, why knock? The door is open. But they keep trying to take that from us. They don't want us to tap into our higher selves. They don't want us to realize that we're all demigods. We are such finite, beautiful creatures with the most unique properties, spirit that can go to Italy and sit right in front of France and sit right in front of the Eiffel Tower in a blink of a thought, be there and see it and feel it and do all that. And yet our body's right here. We can do two of the most amazing things around the universe. We can feel emotions. We can feel sorrow. We can feel joy. We can feel pain. We feel happiness. We can do all these things. Other beings can't do that. We're such a gift, and we treat it so poorly, unfortunately. But we're changing.
Yeah, I agree. So I'd love to have you back another time. We're not quite done yet, but because there's just so much to talk about. We haven't even, basically covered the tip of the iceberg here. But I'm wondering if you have an impression of what ET or the spiritual beings or the beings that were on the ship, do they have a message for humanity? Is there something that you are instructed to teach us or to tell us so that we can benefit ourselves?
Yes, it's real simple. Love each other and don't destroy this earth. This is not ours. This is theirs. They've been here a long time before us, and they're here overseeing to make sure that we don't decimate it. You see, we lived before somewhere else on another planet. I believe it was Mars. I mean, they've told me over and over we lived on Mars as humans, but we failed. When the internal personalities and the greed and the lust and the envy escalated to a point where it became a nuclear blowout, we decimated the planet. Some went underground and some got escape pods and came here. You can see it in the cave dwellings. And we're repeating the grand experiment. We're doing it over again. And if you even look at what humanity is doing now, they're digging caverns deep on the earth. The government is, and they're doing all this, and they're boring these tunnels, and they're doing everything because the inevitable might happen again. But I know this: the ETs won't allow it. They're here now. They're out. I have a special camera that allows me to see all of them. I can tell which one are ETs. I don't get it out. Which one are UFOs and which ones aren't. And they're here looking. If anybody launches a rocket, they'll take it out. That's why every ship that the government NASA has launched up into the sky, even the Columbia, if it had nuclear capability in it, they destroyed it. And the Columbia had nuclear capability in it, and they said, no, we told you. We warned you, you're not to have that up in the space, because when we launched the rocket, when we launched the bomb in Hiroshima, the bombs, it created such an impact that it upset the balance of the earth. And they said, no, no more. So they're watching over us to make sure that that doesn't happen.
How do they feel about CERN? the big collider?
Well, I'll say this. You have nothing to worry about. And I tell you why. Heat, which is the light, can go to 248 degrees Celsius and no hotter. Cold can go to 248 degrees colder and no colder. That is represented by the dark side. Heat goes, which is the benevolent, is the light. It goes to infinity. So they have more power and strength over the dark side. Lucerne, I feel it opened up a portal that they shouldn't have done when that happened. But they have power over it.
Well, that's good to know.
They really do. Their power is immense. I've seen some things like, they're unspeakable, for the most part. But they're there to watch over us and take care of us, and they are our higher selves. They don't. We don't look like them, and they might be different, but they are so loving. I had one pat me on the back once. I was on a ship, and I told him, I go, "You want me to think this is a dream, but I know it isn't, is it?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "I'm not." He says telepathically, "I'm not allowed to tell you." And I started laughing. It's funny to see yourself laugh, but you don't hear anything. It's like that. And he goes, "What's so funny?" And I go, "You just told me it's not a dream by the way you answered my question." And he kind of looked at me like smart, and and then he says, "It's time to go back to the ship." And I go, "I know." And he patted me on the back, and it wasn't like a hand, it was like a big hoof. It's huge. And when he hit my back, I'll never forget, it was like your grandfather touching you. The love was just so immense. And every time this happens, which happens quite frequently now, I just wake up going, I don't want to wake up. I want to stay with them.
It's hard to come back. It's really hard to come back. It's a bit depressing for me.
Sure. Yes. But the beauty of it is the more it happens, it tells me that the two veils are coming closer and closer. And it's all going to be a wonderful transition. They showed me before the virus came out, about 6 months before it came out, what's going to happen. Yeah.
It's good to be. Good to be prepared.
Yeah, I was going to say that my message would be meditate, get quiet, learn to chime into your higher self. Do that because you'll float through your days. It's like you go down the road and they're all green lights. This magic happens when you open up and you meditate and you open that portal up. And this is what I teach in my book. And then you can go outside and look up, and you'll see them. They come. That's how you call them. There you go. I just saved you $97. But there's a little more detail in there. But that's what I teach. Get to that frequency. Meditate. I have something that I was going to do a show on the 27th for my little town I live in, and so many people thanked me for coming out and speaking. I had no idea that there's somebody in this town that believes this way. I do too. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So they're all going to meet me by the water on the 22nd of this month, and I'm going to take my equipment out and I'm going to say, I will show you UFOs.
Nice. Very nice.
And ignite them. The ETs will ignite them.
Well, I think it will help a lot. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm wondering if you want to just go over a little bit to some of the services for people, because, some people are waking up to all of this, feeling a little overwhelmed. They don't know who to turn to. And I'm wondering if you could just share a bit about what you do and how you help people, Brent.
Well, as you know, I'm a practitioner, and that is always the best way to clear out some garbage or some things that are inside of you and get a shot in the arm for your spiritual evolution. That's the best way to do it. We can also do that via BQH, via the computer, and do it that way as well. But in person is always better, but that's a second option. Do that. I would suggest buy my book and read that. You know, it's a very inexpensive book. It wasn't about price points. It was about getting the word out, and start to surround yourself and find a group that there's no shame, and you can vibrate well with it. And you'll see that everybody's coming together. It'll, by osmosis, you'll come together. Do it geographical if you have to. Nothing's more important in your life than to reach your higher self. Because when you transition from this plane, the more you're able to do that now while you're in the body, the more power and strength and clarity you'll have when you transition over. That is the ultimate thing to learn on this earth. Not about wealth or not about cars or any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. You know, because what you learn here now, what you accumulate and you cross over, will be amplified by hundreds of thousands of points of strength. You know, you'll be very, very brilliant on the other side. There'll be an applause for you having come home, done your mission. It's beautiful. And also it'll start to unfold for you. You'll see it. They'll start to speak to you. I was telling this girl the other day, this has to do with your question, that little voice that lives inside of you, the one that you don't try to listen to, start to listen to it. Start to talk to it. Start to have a conversation with it. And that voice will grow a little bit each day. It'll become louder. It'll become louder. And then one day that voice will become the new you. But it's very important to get started.
Oh, I totally agree. You know, the other thing too, which I was thinking of while you were speaking, is it also like what you were saying about start meditating and reaching out. And then what I have found is I'm more easily able to slip into kind of a flow that where I don't have to worry about even time management somehow seems to be taken care of. And you know, my life is so much easier you know, when I follow those kind of practices that I do myself. So I think it's really wonderful for you to be there for other people. I myself you know, have a few clients. I don't have a ton of time to spend with people. My self-care program actually takes up most of my time. I know that sounds selfish, but if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anybody else. I'm really glad there are other people that are also able to take clients and help them. And I'm just really, really thrilled to hear about your work, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you. I would also suggest getting some of the master's books. That's the best avenue. It's very, very simple reading. And what I like about his readings is I can read a page, like let's say out of the daily meditation, and the next day read the same paragraph, and it has a whole different meaning. And the next day, a different meaning. It's written by universal consciousness. And there's a picture of him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he loved our family so much. He came to our home twice in America.
What was his name again, Brent?
It's Omram Mikhail Ivanov. It's OM double A. Oh no, OMRAAM Mikhail Mikhael. And his last name is Ivanov. It's a little bit difficult. It's AIVANIHOV. I think if I hold it up, it'll be backwards though.
Oh, you need to hold it in front of your. No, it's showing up.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
It goes out of focus on my
Yeah, well, it's right there, that position. You can see it really well.
Yeah, he was, yeah. And so, like I said, he was not, he had a body, but the things, like I never saw how he got from Paris to the south of France. But I do know when I left, the girl said we're going to be escorted. There was a UFO above us and one on each side of our car for 13 hours. They escorted us all the way down there. And as we got to the south of France, the UFO kind of went up and reflected the sky, the sun off the sky, and like a wink, and took off when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
They sent them to guide us, and I guess they've been following me ever since, waiting for me to come back around and get on this path again. And now when I go out and do sightings, I mean, they're out there by the dozens. And it's not about ego or anything. It's like, look, you can do this too. I will speak and I will say, see that ship there? I'm going to ask it to do something. I'm going to telepathically say, light up. And when I do that, I'm going to squeeze your arm. And so I squeeze this little girl's arm and the ship lit up. I go, now it's going to go off. And it went off. I did it 3 times. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm only demonstrating how your consciousness and everything you think and everything you do is being watched by them. We can't get away with nothing here. Not one thing. Earth is like a stage. You got the actors and the actresses, but behind the stage, you have the director, the cameraman, the lighting director, the makeup artist. You got everything behind it. That's them watching the big show go off. And real quick, back to my story about Mars, when people would say, well, I don't know if I don't know if I believe in that. And, well, let me ask you this. Where do you think deja vu comes from? We are repeating our before performance again to get it right. You're here, I'm here. Everybody that carries these messages volunteered to come here and help. We're trying to get it right. Please listen. You know, started out with the hippie generation, then it went to the dot-commers, and now it's us, you know, carrying it across the finish line.
Do you think that also means we don't have to be worried about the WEF and all that goings on with them?
WEF, what's that?
World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab and the people that want to form a one world government.
Yeah, no, they're trying to do that. They're trying to do that, and that's usually from the dark side.
Yeah.
You know, and they think they have power. But what I want to share about this is every thought that we have or people have that is of hatred or anger or violence sustains the darker overlords. They feed off your hatred. They feed off the carnage. They feed off the massacre. They feed off the blood. They feed off of that, and that gives them energy. So it's very important not to succumb to that at all, because you're feeding them, and that feeds a WEF. That gives them power. But if we don't do that and we concentrate on love and light, it's like throwing a bucket of water on the wicked witch of the east. They can't live off of that. They feed off when you have, like, you ever notice lovers or whatever, they have a lot of sex, and then they become addicted. They can never get enough because they are over there while they perform the act, taking it from them. So they wake up empty. They wake up with nothing. Or somebody who has a bad overeating problem, it's because they're there feeding off their cells as they eat the food, and the high they get, they're there sucking it right out of them. Or have you ever gone out somewhere and had a really good time and in a concert or something, had so much fun, and you went to sleep and you woke up the next day with a hangover and you're empty because they came through the night and they stole it. They robbed you of it. So it's very important to clear your mind every night before you go to bed so nobody will rob you of your stability. Little side note. But that's how they feed them, and that's what the whole administration and everything is doing right now. They came in just to destroy this country because they're following their orders. They're trying to put us in such chaos, in such misery, and that feeds them. We know it, we see it, right? But you have to like remove yourself and not hate them for it, and not get angry, because then they're winning. So if you're doing it, just say, no, I'm not supporting the other side.
I know sometimes I will get reoccurring like disturbing memories or thoughts, and what I do is I just say, this is my realm, you have no business here, out. I banish you, and I say it out loud, quite literally, and it just disappears, and I don't have that problem anymore. So sometimes I even say to those dark forces, I don't know what they are exactly, but I say, yeah, I caught you, and now you owe me. Get out of my realm and stay out. And I know it sounds funny, but I do that, and it really seems to help. So I think the thing is, people don't realize how much power we have even over our own selves, our own thoughts, our own spirit.
They'll come back like a thief, and like if you try to meditate, right? Let's go there, because this is very practical education. And you're sitting there, and a thought comes in your mind, and you're entertaining it. And pretty soon, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes go by. And you go, wait, I gotta meditate. Go away. To that thought, go away, leave me alone. And it goes away, and then you're getting somewhere, you get peace and quiet, and it sneaks back in like a thief in the night, and it starts there, and it starts generating more and more, and you're not paying attention, you're not vigilant, and all of a sudden you're entertaining that one again. Go, wait, I told you to go away. And so they shoot away, and it sneaks back in. This will happen over and over again until that living thought says, you know what, they're onto us. Let's go find some poor sucker that we can go and torment, and then we'll come back. They'll go away, and they'll go, sorry, I got a knock on the door. We'll go away somewhere else and find some other poor soul that we can torment, but they're onto us. So it's important that if you're going to shoo them away, is to send them to the outer limits of the universe and ban them completely and send them to the light, so they cannot come back. You want to just push them away. It's an important thing to do. And also in life, there's a lot of people looking for a place to dump their garbage on you. And you got to be aware of that. If somebody's unloading on you, or angry, or pissed off, or mad, right? It's because they don't know how to get rid of it. So they see you as a target, and they dump it on you. So
yeah, I don't call that friendship, that's for sure. I mean, it's different if someone's having a rough time, they tell you, you're compassionate to them, but they know, and that you can't really fix their life. That's up to them to fix. And all those unpleasant experiences are often just wake-up calls to let us know that food doesn't agree with us, those people don't agree with us, whatever, right? So for me, I don't expect other people to come in and fix me, because I know it's my job, and I got to fix myself. So that's another thing, is taking personal sovereignty, in my opinion, also means taking responsibility, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and doing our best, to overcome, or I guess more than overcome, I call it transmuting. We can transmute that energy into better things. We don't have to spend it on that. So
alchemize it.
Yes, exactly. And that's, we don't really have time to get into it, but that's why, I have chosen to not escape some of the dark night of the soul and the hero's journey, because I need to go through it. I need to go through it and go through it in a way that I can transmute it or alchemize it. And it's a whole different ballgame than just suppressing and trying to get rid of things. Sometimes we need to incorporate some education that our dark side gives us, even in order to continue. But Brent, our time is quickly running out. I'm so happy to have you on the show. I'd love to have you back. And I'm sure there's lots of things we can talk about, but for an introduction to you and your work and your book, I think this has been great today. And but before I let you go, just want to give you a chance if there's anything else you want to share with the viewers, that would be great.
Yeah, okay. You can go to go.brentboatman.com and you can pick up my book there, and you can find it there, and that's the best place to get it.
Wonderful. And from your website, is everything like your services and the book with your master? Is there any links to how you can get them through your website as well?
No, you can buy them through Prosveta. They have their own website. Prosveta is a good place to find them. And that's spelled Prosveta. And you can find them there.
Wonderful.
Prosveta.com.
Wonderful. Well, I guess that's it for today. Again, thank you so very much for sharing with us your journey, your wisdom, your offerings. I'm just really thrilled to have you on the show. I met Brent through Aurora Seraphine, who I've had on the show quite a few times, and she's just a lovely, lovely soul. And I hope to have her back again soon. So I'm very grateful that she gave me your name and your contact and set it up so that I could have you on the show. Very happy about that. So to all, so thank you very much for being on the show. And thank you too to all of the viewers out there. I just want you to know how much I very much appreciate you. I appreciate you watching the show, sharing it, subscribing to my YouTube channel, or maybe my YouTube channels. If you'd like to go over and give me some love on Odyssey, that would be great too. And I guess that's it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I love you so much. And we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
To my quest, I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all in